Hey everybody. So I have my coach Sarah here. I'm super excited for everybody to meet her. She's going to share her story. So to start, Sarah and I have a lot in common. The first thing is we're actually both recently engaged. So we're in the wedding planning process. And secondly, we both live on a farm. So if you live on a farm, you know how crazy it can be and how much, a lot of unplanned things happened and the freedom you need to be able to be there. So we'll start by Sarah sharing her story and kind of telling us why she got started online.
Yeah. Hey, thanks for having me. Sorry. I actually was partially waving and partially batting a flyaway because farm life, there's just like the house in front of the camera earlier. And I was like, oh God, that's embarrassing. But so if you see the fly, please ignore it. So yeah, just a little bit about me and my story. The reason I got started online was the farm really did play a big role into me wanting to be home more. I was going to my 9 to 5. So I used to be an accountant. So it was just a typical office job. I was in my cubicle, like crunching numbers day in and day out. And it was just the same thing every single day, same routine. I would get to, I'd wake up at the same time, get to work. And then I'd get home, I'd have my commutes, which took up so much time. I hated that because I'd always think of like the million things that I could be doing instead of driving. And then while I was at work, I was always feeling like I was missing things on the farm. We raise livestock, we also grain farm. I have horses. That's like part of my hobby. And I just felt like I was missing out so much. I was using a lot of my like PTO and time off to help with the cattle. So I'd burn through all of my, PTO and like my sick leave too, because it's really hard. The cattle don't like give you a heads up, like, hey, we're going to be sick tomorrow. So like, make sure you request the day off. So it's always like trying to call my boss, who is not a farmer. He's an accountant. And it was hard for him to understand like why it was important. It's, cattle are like children. Any animal is really like our child kind of. And when they're in need, you need to be there for them. So it's really hard for me to just be at work all the time and feel like I was missing out on my animals. And then I'd get home and it'd be dark out and I'd be doing chores. And I just like I felt like I had no time for myself. I felt like I was, the farm is really my passion and I didn't have time for that. I didn't have time for my horses. I was like constantly putting them on the back burner, my dogs, different things like that. And so that was just not how I wanted to live really the rest of my working career. The next 40 plus years of my life was sitting in a cubicle wishing that I could be on the farm. And that's really why I started to search for something different where I didn't have to be in the cubicle day in and day out. And that's when I stumbled upon this opportunity where I could create my own schedule, which was perfect, especially for like right now we're in harvest season. So, I'm rearranging my schedule a little bit so that I can help with harvest because it's go time. We're like constantly trying to beat the rain and beat the weather and stuff like that. So being able to create your own schedule is like a huge plus for me, but also being home so that I am working on this business at home, but when things pop up, because it's a farm, something is always popping up. You're able to just kind of put work down and head out to the farm and take care of things there. So I definitely feel like I have so much more of a work-life balance because I can create my own schedule, being your own boss. I'm not limited to PTO, so I don't have that stress anymore of okay, I only have 10 days of vacation time. You better use these wisely. Well, like, of course, the animals took them all, which is fine because I love them. But having time so I could go on vacation or go visit family and different things like that, that would be nice to have too. And that's exactly what I get with this because I can, take more time off and take my work with me anywhere. So once I saw this opportunity, I knew that this was something I had to get started with. So that I didn't have to be in my 9 to 5, like in that cubicle, just kind of going through the motions every day. So.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that you say that your boss was an accountant, so he didn't get it because farming is like totally a lifestyle. Like, unless you're doing it, you just don't get it. Like, that crazy things happen, like that you need to be there when something happens. So I think it's funny that you said that because it's so true. But yeah, and also you're there to be able to help your fiance do all the things that he would do when you're at work. So I'm sure he appreciates like you being a helping hand all the time. So that's awesome. And then one thing I did want to mention, I forgot to mention in the beginning, if our connection is spotty, just bear with us because we're both in the country and our service isn't always the best. So thanks for sharing that. My next question was, since starting your online business, how would you say your life has changed?
Yeah. So, I mean, I dabbled into this a little bit earlier, but it has changed just tremendously. Like I said, with being able to create my own schedule, it's helped so much with the farm. And like you said, being able to help my fiance, I definitely have become kind of his right hand man. So that's really cool. My family lives several hours away from me. So I now get to travel to go see them. Before I was simply like just seeing them on holidays, when you'd get that long weekend. So now I get to see them so much more. My nephew was just born a little over a year ago. So like I get to see him grow up, which is so important to me. I think of my future family a lot. I'm definitely like I like to think ahead. That's just my personality. So especially like being engaged and planning a wedding, I'm thinking about how we are going to like eventually start our family. And I'm like, this will be so great to be able to be, with my children. I won't have to like worry about maternity leave and different things like that. Like I'll get to take that and just take the time that I need to recover and to take care of my family, and then also be there for them and not have to pay for daycare. Because I don't know this because I don't have a child, but everybody talks about how insanely expensive daycare is. We like be here with them. So there's just so many different aspects. I could probably go on and on. But the flexibility has just been the biggest game changer for me. And I guess I didn't mention this. After like getting started online, I have been able to replace my income and quit my 9 to 5. So I'm no longer an accountant. I work online full time. So that's really a huge, huge thing for me. So
Yeah, that's awesome. I can relate too because I totally like plan ahead. So one thing to look forward to the same way is like I've never wanted to put my kids in daycare. Like I've wanted to be able to raise them and be a part of their life versus like just having the evenings and weekends. So I can totally relate to that. That's a huge plus to the business, definitely.
we
Um,
think of our right now, and like, I mean, I think you've probably, I think you've said this same thing to me, but like you get home from work and you're so exhausted and you're like, God, I barely have time for my animals. And then I think of like, if you're in that same position and if you don't have time for your animals, you're not going to have time for your kids. By the time you get home, you're going to be so drained, and you're going to get to cooking dinner and doing chores, and then like, I guess bathing them and putting them to bed. And like, that's not the quality time that I know neither of us want to spend with our children. We'd like to spend more time with our future family. So it is really big to be able to create a schedule around them, so that you can actually get that time together. So it's huge.
exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's like a huge plus, the flexibility. I mean, the financial aspect is a huge plus, but the flexibility,
Yeah.
like with our lifestyles, is like a huge bonus, especially where we're both like engaged and we're looking at all the next steps. So it's awesome to be able, to go through that.
Yeah.
So my other question was, what were some of your fears? Like what made you hesitant when you got started online? Because if you're anything like me, I was super skeptical and I was like, I don't know if this is real. Like, can I do this sort of thing? So what would you say yours were?
Yeah. I would say like I had similar fears. Like there was that fear, like, is this legit? Is this real? And after, talking to my now coach, so like for you guys, it would be talking to Carly. Like you see that she's a real person. You see me up here. You've heard my story. You see that I'm a real person. We have an entire community that we can invite you to, where you can hear from other people, hear from their experiences, see what it's all about. So like, if that is something that you're not sure of, just know there are different things out there where we can really like show you, hey, we're all real people. So just don't hesitate to reach out to Carly. But then another fear of mine was like, am I cut out for this? Like, can I do this? And I really thought that because you wouldn't know this right now because I am like very confident on camera. I was not confident before I got started. Like getting on camera was something I was terrified of. And like, by no means is it required, but I really like to connect with you guys and connect with the people that I talk to. So like, it was just something I had to work on to overcome. And that's with anything in life, you know, even down to like trying new food. You're kind of leery of it. You're like, oh, can I do this? And then you try it and you're like, oh, it was really good. So the same thing with video. It just takes practice. And also just like being in the online space. I was like, oh, I had all these misconceptions. Do I have to be Insta famous? Do I have to have a large following? Do I have to sell to friends and family? Like I had all these things. And like I don't sell at all to friends and families. Like I work with, me and Carly both work with a program where you don't have to do any of that. And like, also we created separate business pages so that we can keep our business and our personal life separate in the social media world. So we both started with absolutely no followers, and we both have seen so much success in our businesses with starting with 0 followers. So like, you don't have to be Insta famous. You don't have to have this large following. You don't have to sell to friends and family. And that to me, like I had just assumed for so long, like that's what you'd have to do if you worked online. And like, there obviously are, we've all seen those things out there where you do that, but that's not what this is. So just keeping an open mind and asking questions like to Carly on how it actually works. Don't just assume. And that was something that I did, and I wish I didn't. And until I reached out and asked those questions, I didn't know. So that was probably like the big kind of like hesitations and fears that I had, but that was simply a personal thing because I was kind of assuming.
Yeah. I mean, I can definitely relate to those because those were the same questions just like going through my head. One of the things was like, I never wanted to feel like a salesman. So my fiance, like when I was getting started, he was like, you're not a salesman. Like, you know, people get this feeling that salesmen just lie to you to sell something, which I
Yeah.
guess part of it is true. Like they want to make a sale, but that's totally not why we're here. Like we're here for everybody and, you know, for their life, like to set them up for success. So I love that you touched on that. And you definitely do not have to have a large following. All I had was Facebook when I got started. And I had always said, like, I hate technology, like it ruined the world. Like, you know, it's changed a lot, you know, it's not like it used to be everyone's on their phones and that sort of thing. But in this aspect of the business, it definitely helps because the world is just going more onto social media. And that's our platform where we get to connect with people. So I think that's awesome. But those are all things that I was really skeptical on. And, you know, I asked you a bunch of questions and I was really worried at first, but like looking back and seeing where I am, it's just like amazing because I feel like I've come so far. So that's awesome.
Yeah. You have. It is amazing, like what you're capable of when you change your vocabulary from like, can I do this to I can. Like I mean, both of us have worked on so much of our mindset and just building our confidence. Confidence isn't something we're born with. Like everybody thinks like, oh, she's so confident because she was born with it. Sure. Maybe some people are. Most people have to work on it and just make that mindset shift to actually believe in ourselves. There's really no reason for us to not believe in ourselves. We're capable of so much. And like, especially, you know, Carly, especially is such a hardworking person. She knows she's capable. She just had to make that shift into from can I to I can do this. And when you give yourself like no other option but to succeed, it's amazing what kind of shifts can happen in your life and how many new and like good things come your way. So yeah.
Absolutely. That's so true. And that's like, I look back to like where I was and where I am now, and I just like can't believe it. Like it's just kind of overflowed like in my like daily life. And I never pictured like starting this business, I would be where I am. So it's been awesome. And I can tell like other people have noticed it, like in my family, and my fiance's like, what is wrong with you? Like you're so positive and you're so this. And I'm like, it's a new me. Like this is what mindset does. And you just have to keep telling yourself, like I've always said, like you can make anything happen that you truly want to. Like you just have to keep going towards your goals. So it's awesome to watch, especially in the community. Like everyone's life just transforming, and they're accomplishing so much, and everyone's so supportive that it's truly awesome to be a part of. So yeah, I'm glad
Yeah.
you shared that. So my last question for you would be, what would be your advice to someone that's just on the fence and they're like, I don't know if it's for me, and they're super hesitant? What would be your advice to them getting started?
Um, my big advice for something like that would definitely be, you won't know unless you try. So is trying, like, or I guess is not trying worth it to you? Is like never knowing if like this really could be for you, never reaching out, never getting it more information. Are you going to have regrets with not doing that? And if the answer is yes, which it more than likely is, then just do it. Just reach out, ask those questions. It shows that you care. It shows that you want to take back control of your life. So don't live with that regret of, staying in that same day-to-day cycle that you're not quite fulfilled in. And just reach out, ask Carly those questions, and know that you will never be 100% ready. I know when I first got started with this business, Carly as well, like we were excited. We were, ready to make the change, but there was still that little part of us that was scared. And that's so normal. Being scared, it shows that you care. It also kind of gives you that kick in the butt to like get things in gear and be successful. If you just walked into this nonchalant and we're like, I don't know. I don't know where I wanted to go with that, but like, if you were nonchalant about it, then like that might not have the kick in the butt that you need. So know that having a little bit of fear is okay. It's normal. Not feeling 100% ready. You never will with any opportunity you take in life, even if it's just changing from one 9 to 5 to a different 9 to 5, like you're still going to have those hesitant feelings and things like that. So just really push past it and ask yourself what's important to you. Is it worth it to make a change? And if the answer is yes, then just dive in. So
I love that, because I was just thinking the other day, like, you're never going to be 100% ready for anything you do. Like, especially being on the farm, like, literally something always happens. Like, I could share a story every single day of my life. So I just think, like, even like we all have these resolutions where, like, oh, we're going to start working out on Monday. And then Monday comes and it rained, or you got called into work, like something happens and it interferes with it. So I love that you said that, because it's so true. Like, your life's never going to be perfect and going to be like, hey, this is your time, let's go do it. Like, you just have to do it and get started. Because one thing I can say is, like, I know when you and I had first connected on Facebook, I was like, that's not real. Like, I can never do that. And it took me like 3 or 4 months, I think, until I actually got started when you had reached out to me again. So all I can think is, like, where would I be if I got started that much sooner? So I love that you say, like, don't wait till you're ready, because it's never going to happen. So that's so true.
yeah. And you're especially with, you mentioned this earlier with the shift online, or like so much is shifting online, especially these last like 2 years. How many things went remote? How many things are shifting online? This is a huge time to work online. There's so much opportunity in it. So like you said, where would I be if I got started 4 months sooner, especially with how booming things are? So yeah, waiting isn't always it isn't always necessary, because like you said, there's never going to be that like perfect moment to get started. Everybody's life has so many things being thrown at them. You just have to prioritize you and yourself and your goals and your family, or whatever your situation is, and just do it. So
Exactly. I love that. Well, thank you so much for sharing. I'm super happy that, like, everyone that has come across my page finally gets to meet you, because you're a huge inspiration. So I want to thank you for coming, and I'm so happy everyone got to meet you. So if you have any questions, just reach out, and we'll see about getting started and go from there. So,
yeah, for having me.
all right. Well, we'll talk to you guys later.
All right. Bye.
Bye.